Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
You're watching National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasts, 70 shows, and a 3.5-star rating on Roku TV.
Introducing National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk programming that you can access 24/7. For the premier sports talk experience, tap into our Roku channel. Start your mornings with Mac and Jack covering all the weekend sports action. Then pour a cup and enjoy all the sports you can drink on the Coffee and Sports podcast. At midday, talk sports from east to west on the Coast to Coast podcast. Followed at night by some hot girl talk with Prim and Proper Sports featuring Sonia Pearson. Talk boxing on the Gloved Fist. Yankee fans tune in for Start Spreading the News. And there's more on the College Sports Huddle and Sports Scope with Robert Butler. There are 20 podcasts in all and 70 weekly shows, giving us a 3.4-star viewer rating. To find us on Roku TV, search for National Streaming Sports on the Roku search bar. Click on the logo and you're in. National Streaming Sports, live and on-demand sports talk for America.
What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. I am back with you guys once again, Prim and Proper Sports. I'm your host, Sonia. And beside me tonight is my amazing co-host. You guys have seen him before from the One Ass Cheek, Three Toes podcast, 313 Den. None other than Nathan Castro. Nathan, how are you tonight?
Good. Happy hump day.
Happy hump day. First hump day of April, of spring,
Yep.
all that good stuff. I ran the commercial back to back because for some reason we have been having issues with connecting to the Roku channel. And so I ran it again to try to make sure that no one was, omitted from our audience. But we want to welcome everybody in from the Roku channel, from YouTube, from all the social media platforms. Make sure you download the Roku app so that you too can be in the know when we are live and when there is sports 24/7 without the cost of cable. And also hello to the Huddle Sports Network as well. All right, so this is my third show today, Nate. So I'm going to really rely on you to keep me upright tonight. I've been doing shows since 8 this morning.
You got it. Let's go. Let's get it going.
Got my little sugar jolt here. The last show we had, really good show, the National Professional Sports Mid Show. And we talked about everything from Little Debbie snack cakes to everything. But you guys see, I'm representing the Braves right now. They're playing the Dodgers.
Yeah, they're up 2-0, by the way. They're up 2-0 on the Dodgers.
Hopefully we can break this losing streak. We are 0-6 as opposed to the Dodgers are 7-0 right now. They began their opening season over in Japan, so they're 1 game, 2 games ahead of everybody else in the league. But they, well, not them, but the
3-0.
main story.
3-0 now.
3-0, yay. The main story is the New York Yankees. They absolutely blew out the Brewers 20-9. I never heard of a score that horrific. With these North torpedo bats, Nate. This, I just, they're not illegal, but
Right.
and Aaron Judge, who's really using them, is not even using that specific bat, and he's the one that's hitting all the homers. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's the Yankees first and foremost, and if anybody follows the Yankees, they know that they're called the Bronx Bombers for a reason. They play in a very favorable ballpark where home runs are pretty easy to hit. On top of that, they always have guys that go for at least 20 to 30 plus home runs a year. So that's not too surprising. As far as like the torpedo bats, like it's not illegal. Everybody can use them. I was telling Brian this on his show during the day that I think that this is similar to like football, where earlier in the football season, the offense is always ahead of the defense. You know, the offense always seems to really look good. The defense seems to struggle because they're still adjusting to what the offense is doing. This is the same thing with baseball. Baseball's always been known for their pitching, and that's the best defense. But the thing is, what's up, B?
What's up, B?
But the thing is,
so bad tonight.
But the thing is that what you call it is that the offense is ahead right now of the pitching, and so it'll even out. You know, I don't think the bats really have anything to do with it. I think a lot of people are making a big deal about it. It's no different than the receivers wearing the sticky gloves, you know, that can make those crazy catches one-handed and all that. Like, there's been questions about, oh, what do these gloves have? Why are they able to catch these balls? It's the same thing. It's nothing. No big deal. I mean, there was a team that used the bats and they couldn't hit anything.
Right. You just
so it's really the players. Yeah, it's the players.
You never know. And good evening to Linda and Mac over there, the producers at Northeast Professional Sports. Thank you so much for this platform. Hope you both are enjoying your evening. And look, Brian is saying, nah, y'all got it. I just want to support. We appreciate you, Strella. Yeah, so I guess, you know, it's still early in the season. Let's put that out there. It's a long season to go. The season just kicked off 162 games for the whole season.
Woo!
The only
season.
thing, very long. And speaking of long season, one of the Braves' main players, 80-game suspension for PEDs. And plus they're waiting on Ronald Acuna to come back. And so, you know, just tonight's game is going to say a lot because those two people are still missing. So we have to keep an eye out on the Braves and just see.
Doing pretty good so far. It's 3-0, second inning.
Let's wish them luck here. All right, let's switch gears. We got a lot to talk about. March Madness. Of course, my Dukies, as everybody's been calling, are still in it, and I've projected them to win it all. Nate, I know you also are heavy in March Madness. Women's elimination, Duke was eliminated by 4 points to South Carolina State. Good run for the Duke Lady Devils, but of course, no match in the very end for Dawn Staley. So South Carolina will be going to the Final Four. And Kim Malarkey and the LSU Tigers, they are at home. You know, she can go ahead and put all her suits in the cleaners now because she doesn't have to worry about tapping out on that court anytime soon.
Yeah, she's a character. She definitely seems like somebody you really don't want to mess with, you know. I do think it was unprofessional for her to like go at a student reporter. I mean, just because you lost, you don't have to get all hardcore about it, you know.
Yeah, I caught the tail end of that. What happened? And thank you, B. What happened?
He just basically asked the question. He's like, "Well, y'all been eliminated or something," and she's like, "Well, you know." I don't remember exactly all the details of it, but basically she kind of demeaned his comment. Basically, all he was asking is like, "Well, you've lost these many tournaments. What's going on?" You know, it's a fair question to ask.
Yeah, it is a fair question.
But you know the thing about these reportings that I really wish they wouldn't do is I wish you would give the coach and the players at least a day to take in all that happened,
that raw emotion,
the emotion of everything, and let them sleep on it, and then talk to them the next day.
Yep.
Like, I am not a fan of interviewing a coach or a player after a hard-fought season, a hard-fought game, a game that didn't go their way, because you're not going to get the most nice answer.
You're not. I mean, it's the human emotion. Like,
it's raw emotion. It's raw emotion.
Yeah, I always wondered about that. But, you know, it's the same thing with the pressers once the game is over with NBA and NFL.
That's what I'm saying. There should be a day moratorium to talk to them because everybody is high emotion. People are pissed. People are sad. People are whatever. Like we as humans need time to recoup after something. Like, you know, when my beloved Lions lost to the Commanders, I didn't want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
I didn't want to see anybody. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I didn't want to look at anybody.
I've been
like I needed longer than a day, but at least a day to just comprehend what the hell happened. And then I would be able to comprehend some kind of thought process or at least some kind of feeling of what I was thinking. Like as humans, it's hard for us to react rationally before emotionally in that moment. And you know, I think that's what she was doing. But I don't know. She's kind of rude too. So I'll go figure.
She's kind of rich, very hardcore.
Yeah.
Maybe that's why she dresses so dainty. But I mean, I've been there when it was the Super Bowl. I tell people I've never watched the whole Super Bowl. The last one the Panthers went to, I have to this day never watched the entire thing. It's still on DVR. I just at the halfway mark, I just stopped watching it. I will say this though. I didn't want to talk to anybody. In fact, I felt crippled. Like I didn't even want to get out of bed. And so I know Panthers fans were, because I mean, you got to think about it. It's kind of like how the Lions were so on top of the whole division, so apart from everybody else in the league as far as their record, that you felt invincible. You felt there's no way I'm going to lose this. And hello to you, Reggie. I see you watching on the Pantherettes page. Good evening. Please share this stream. And so I literally text my supervisor, like, I'm going to either be super late today or I probably won't come in at all. And the only thing she did was text me back, LOL, okay. Because everybody knew it. Like, they knew it. And I think I went to work at like almost 1 o'clock. It was almost lunchtime by the time I got there.
Fortunately for me, I wasn't working for anybody. So I was able just to take off that day for myself. But yeah, it's... You know, when you're a true fan, it's a reflection period. Like, you know, especially for me, because, you know, being a diehard Lions fan since the day I was born, pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, to get that close two times, and to think that you had a Super Bowl twice, it's draining, you know, and you don't know what to think. You don't know where to go. You don't know how to feel. You're just kind of dead. You're just kind of dead inside. And
I felt like somebody had died.
Yeah.
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I can imagine sad at the same time.
And you and me can sympathize that as fans. Can you imagine being an athlete and actually playing the game? Yeah. And that being your last game as a senior, or, you know, it's over for you. Like that's a high emotional roller coaster. And like I said, I'm not a fan of interviewing people after a game like that because it's just raw emotion. And it's not fair for them to have to air it out to you in person. That's something they need to talk to their teammates about, their coaches, everybody in the locker room. And then the next day, after the dust is settled, you had a good night's sleep, hopefully, or whatever you did to get yourself going. And then you could talk to the media. That's just my opinion. I've never been a fan of it.
It's actually really, it makes sense. It's kind of like showing an ounce of compassion for your fellow man. And I think sometimes, especially in this day and age, we are so ready to get the first take on social media. We want to be the first one to get that bite, that sound bite, the pure reaction, so that we could say, hey, we got it for the clicks and likes before everybody else got it. That we forget that this is still a human, that is still very much either on top of the world. So even if they win, they should get a day to let it soak in. They're either on top of the world and they're celebrating with their team and then their family, or they are at the bottom of the map because they are feeling so defeated. And so, you know, I just feel like this is one of those situations. You know, Cam Newton got criticized for walking out on a press conference, but let me tell you, in that instance, I mean, I have been known to kind of ride with Cam, but on this instance, I really did it. They set his room up with only a curtain separating him and Peyton Manning after the Super Bowl. And he could hear Peyton talking. They literally were interviewing both of them at the same time. And he was talking, and then he just kept hearing him. He was just like pointing, like, really? I couldn't even get
It's
more.
funny. It's funny you say that too, because when the Lions lost in their own home, they were interviewing him after the game, and you could literally hear while Coach Campbell is literally crying or emotional as hell. You hear the commanders in the other side of the locker room
Oh,
banging and
wow.
screaming, and I'm telling you right now, it's personal when we playing
Yeah.
them this year.
Yeah.
They're not going to forget that. They're going to remember that when they were laughing and screaming and hollering in our own locker room while we were over there just in dismay. It's
I
personal.
could not believe.
You don't forget that stuff.
Yes, I could not believe. I was like, Washington may as well let y'all win that game just for them to go to the Super Bowl like that. Because I really think you guys could legit have beaten the Eagles. But it wouldn't have even come down to the Eagles. It would have been, well, yeah, in the NFC.
Well, yeah,
I
if we'd have
really
beat the Eagles, we'd have played the Chiefs. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I really think you guys could have beaten the Eagles and gone to the Super Bowl.
I think it would have been a great match. I mean, to say that, we didn't have a chance in hell, like some people said, I disagree with that. We were in our own house. We had all the momentum. We were one game away from the Super Bowl. You never know. That's why you play the game. You just never know.
I never know. And I mean, I want to ask you about something too, as a Lions fan, because there's been a lot of chatter about Cam Newton and the Panthers. Of course, he's talking about now he should have gotten this 30-foot statue outside Bank of America, that he went to a locker room full of losers. And I am so upset that he's saying that. He went to a locker room full of losers and revitalized the team. Whether or not you did that or not, why would you say that? But then now they're talking about bringing him back as not an offensive starter, but kind of like in a slash role, kind of like Cordell Stewart was back in the day. So he could be a slash weapon for Bryce. We see it with Taysom Hill with the Saints. He's kind of like in that slash position where he's quarterback, but he's also a whole bunch of other stuff.
They're talking about bringing Cam Newton back. How old is Cam Newton?
Cam is so he's born in 87, whatever the math is on that.
So I'm 86, so I'm 38. So he's like probably 37.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Can he even play? I thought he was retired.
He's still been no, he never retired. He's still been working out, and every year he, wants to come back to a team. But the Panthers gave him a chance to come back to the team. He came back before, and the big I'm back. When we played the Cardinals. Yeah. I don't know.
I think it's interesting that you talk shade amongst the team you played for, the team that drafted you, that took a shot at you, that you won with. Listen, I understand situations don't always go according to plan, but your parents probably told you this. My parents told me this: never burn bridges.
Yeah.
Because I mean, it could come full circle for you at some point. Maybe they want to put you in the Ring of Hall of Fame. But if you're talking smack about your team, probably not going to happen. And they're sure as hell not going to bring him back to play football. Yeah. I think I like Cam Newton. I think he's a talent. I think he's a special player. But his mouth gets ahead of his talent sometimes. Like some of the stuff he says or some of his antics he has just rubs people the wrong way. And the thing is that if you're trying to get into a football career, like after football, like broadcasting or anything like that, you got to clean that stuff up, bro.
I mean, he's on First Take now with Stephen A.
Yeah, I've seen him on First Take a couple times. Yeah. But if he's trying to get like to a bigger, like a Tom Brady type of role where he gets paid a lot of money, which I would imagine any player who's not playing football anymore wants to get like in the Tom Brady role where you're calling games and getting $300 million a year. Like, he's got to understand he can't say what he feels every time. Yeah. I mean, Robert Griffin's a perfect example. I love RG3.
Yeah, he's very balanced with what
but he's also very honest, and he's also very graphic in way he talks at times. And ESPN kicked him off because of that. Because you got to know that Disney is very family oriented. And you can't be controversial, and you can't be saying stuff that's a little bit too controversial in some areas, because that's the Disney brand. That's not what they're about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
So
somebody said he was born May 11, 89. My bad. Yeah, you're right, Robbie. Thank you so
okay,
much
then.
for that. 89. I know the May 11th part, but I don't know why I'm saying
Yeah,
87.
I thought he was retired. That's beyond me. I thought he was retired, but I guess not.
So
I
what's
mean, it's time.
he's
It's time to hang it
34,
up. Yeah.
34, 35.
I mean, I'd hang it up, man. I'd hang it up. Do a 1 year endear yourself with the Panthers. Do a 1 day contract. Retire as a Panther, and then let the process start of them putting you in the Hall of Fame as far as their team, and then see where things go. He's had a pretty good career.
Yeah, he's had a great career. I need to see why I can't see comments all of a sudden. Let me go back out here because I saw this comment on Facebook, but I don't see it on my stream. There it is. I guess I had to refresh it. Sorry about that, Robbie. Thank you for joining us. And he said the Lions defense went to after
Yeah.
touch, and he said he's 35 now. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that.
So, Rob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean that's very like crucial. And speaking of, this is going to segue into the ongoing talk with Aaron Rodgers. So everybody knows he's BFFs with Pat McAfee, and according to a source that is supposedly knows people that knows people that knows people, he is going to sign with the Steelers. They've already worked this deal out, but they're not going to announce it until April 9th when they have this big event or whatever that Pat McAfee had.
Yeah, him and Pat McAfee are like this, and every time Rodgers makes a decision, he does it on the Pat McAfee show. So this is all about making Pat McAfee famous. He had the LeBron conversation a couple of weeks ago. It's a done deal. Like, he's going to play for Pittsburgh, and we'll see.
Yeah,
I'm just glad he's not coming to Minnesota. Because I did not want to see a sorry ass in our division.
I don't think he would have been.
Done with seeing people.
Oh, Robbie said, excuse his language. Thank you, Robbie. I appreciate that. I'm trying to get monetized. So if we use profanity, sometimes I'll get a flag on my YouTube when I replay this. Thank you, Robbie. No worries about that. But yeah, so it's just like, this is just the day we live in. And speaking of the day we live in, NFL's got some new rules. No more moving the chains. They're going to use everything, I guess.
Yeah, no more chain gangs.
Yep, chain gang is gone. AI related. They're going to let a computer tell you whether or not you got a first down. The offside kick now is going to be moved to the 35-yard line instead of the 20. They're going to change the overtime regulation, time management to match the regular period throughout a game. And Goodell is tabling the tush push until May, whether or not they make it illegal. And he is still trying to mind over the 18 games with a 2-week preseason start. He said he's mulling it over to look at players' health and safety to decide. But that could happen really quick, though, Nate.
Yeah, he's pushing it. I'll be honest with you. I think the season's long enough. As much as I love football, like, playing those extra games aren't necessarily that important. Like, get the playoffs going, get them. If you want to give maybe everybody extra rest, I think that's beneficial, but 17 games enough for me. Like, that's a long season, and I can imagine the players kind of feel the same way. Like, that's good.
I know it is, but I wish it was longer. I mean, I hate to say that. I know the players are taking a beating. I wish there was I wish there was a way they could like put their exhibition team out there, like a B squad. So like everybody go out this starting, and then after part of the season, you start bringing in your B squad and getting them some exposure to see what they look like. At least it's a way to carry on and get everybody, an opportunity to play.
Yeah, I think like if you're one of the top teams like the Lions were last year, or a bottom team, you probably want the season over with because the top teams want to get to the playoffs, and the bottom teams want to just get the season over with. It's the middle teams that, kind of like your Panthers that were like really getting good at the end. Like, you want to carry that, you want to have a little more games to carry that momentum into the offseason, So it goes both ways. I don't know. It's
a gift and a curse. It's a gift and a curse to the fans. It's whatever. And hello, Lamar. And Robbie says maybe Aaron Rodgers' deal is a late April Fool's joke, and he really
No,
will
he's
sign
going
with
to
the
he's going to the Steelers, buddy. Pat McAfee's not doing a whole show just for Aaron Rodgers to say I'm going somewhere else or I'm retiring. I highly doubt that.
That'll be rough. I don't know. I know I'm sick of it, and I'm sick of hearing about.
I'm over it. We don't need to talk about it anymore. The hell with him.
The drafts. But you know it's gonna keep coming up. The draft with
I hear it on talk radio all the time, Sonia.
Yes.
I hear it every day. It's like, God, just sign with somebody, please. Let's just stop talking about this dude.
Yes, but not only that, I'm tired of the draft talk with Shedeur Sanders. I'm tired of all that that goes along with that. And Cam Ward, of course, has been talked about a little bit, but not like Shedeur. It's like Shedeur has just taken over this entire draft. And so I want to talk about some players that are in the top part of the second round, perhaps, or that are predicted to go in the second round, maybe in the top 5 slots, that they could very easily be moved to the first round. So what are your thoughts on that? There's a few names. Of course, this is not a quarterback saturated draft off the rip, but what are some of the names you've heard?
So surprisingly, quarterbacks are the big one in the second round. You've got Quentin Ewers out of Texas, Jalen Milroe out of Alabama, Kyle McCord out of Syracuse, Taylor Shuck out of where did Shuck play? Man,
is it not Oklahoma? No.
I forgot. I'd have to look it up. But anyways, Taylor Shuck, he played. So those are some names of quarterbacks that I think that if Dart, Shedeur, and Cam are gone, and you still have teams that are hungry for a quarterback and didn't want to take one early, like a Cleveland, let's say Cleveland goes Abdul Carter, then they're probably going to be in the market for one of those quarterbacks in the second round. Or Pittsburgh, if they decide to go defense or go some other position, maybe a tackle for Rodgers or whatever, to protect the old man, then they might go quarterback in the second round. Vegas, same way. I think Vegas will be in the market for a quarterback to develop after Geno. So I definitely think, Sonia, like the first 2 rounds, most of the quarterbacks will be gone. And the thing is, and I think I told you this off the air, that Todd McShay, a very renowned draft analyst that, like I said, I follow a lot of what he says because this guy lives and breathes college football and studies. Yeah, you're right, Robbie. You don't need tackle. And follows all these draft people. They watch tape. Oh, that's their job, is to watch tape. Literally, watch all tape. Anyways, he said Cam and the other quarterbacks is a huge gap. There's Cam and then there's everybody else. But where Shedeur and all these other quarterbacks, it's about the same. So,
wow, yeah.
And the thing is that I believe it, because when you see Shedeur and his stature and his stats, and you compare him to a Kyle McCord, a Quentin Ewers, maybe not a Jalen Milroe, because Jalen Milroe is not very much of a thrower.
I still can't believe he's in the second round. I thought Milroe would be at maybe the halfway point of the first round, not the second.
Well, early second could be like around the first. I mean, when you talk about the 20s to the second round, it's pretty much the second round or late first. It's all in that category. But what I'm saying is, like, all the skills of these quarterbacks are very similar and on the lines of Shedeur Sanders. So the thing is that, like Robbie said, you could definitely drop. So the thing is that if you're a team and you're not in love with Shedeur Sanders, then you take the player you want and then see where he goes, how far he falls. And then if you're a team like the Browns, you're a team like the Steelers, and he's still falling, maybe you trade up to go get him, because at the end of the day, that's a steal.
Right.
Shadeur's got skill. I think he could be a decent quarterback. But the thing is that, is he worthy of a top 5 pick? Probably not.
I don't.
And that's what we're hearing right now.
Yeah, and Shuck is from Louisville. He's a
Louisville. Thank you. Okay. Yeah.
And
he played at Oregon too. So he was a transfer portal guy too.
Yep. He was from the Ducks. That's what I was getting ready to say next. So he's definitely well known. And like you said, those top, like, it is right. It's true. I never thought about it. Once you hit past that 20 mark,
Mhm.
you are basically already in the second
It's
round.
a dead zone. It's a
Mhm.
dead zone. This draft is probably, I would say, top 15 heavy. Like you've got maybe one or two stars, really good star players, and then you've got some possible stars to borderline above average players,
Mhm.
and then there's the rest. Like, so once you get to that 20 pick and bottom, it's really a 50-50 shot.
That's so
You
weird
know,
because people are saying Shador may drop to 21. So if that's what you're saying is true, that's not even in the top.
it's very possible because if you look at the teams that need quarterbacks, if the Giants don't get him, the Browns don't get him, then you have New Orleans. Well, the Jets aren't going to get him. The
Mhm.
Raiders, I don't think are going to get him. You have the New Orleans who has Carr still.
Yeah, but that,
They
Carr didn't want to be there.
That's true. That's true. And I've said that Carr the Saints could be a possibly option for Sanders. And if not, if it's not the Saints, then he's definitely probably going to the Steelers.
That is crazy. So
Because
why not the Raiders, considering that Tom Brady is part owner and he's friends with, it's kind of
that
like
is that's a good point. That's a good point. And I brought this question to be in this show today. If you're the Raiders, and let's say Ashton Genty and
Mhm.
Shador Sanders are there at number 8. I think it's their pick. What do
New
you
Orleans,
do?
the Panthers are number 8.
Okay, I don't know what number the Raiders are, 7 or 6.
Yeah, the Raiders are 7, I believe.
Okay. So if you're the Raiders at 7 and Ashton Genty and Shador Sanders are both there at 8, I'm sorry, 7, what
Mhm.
do? The smart thing would probably be to take Ashton Genty because of the skill and star power this guy has to offer. But you have an old Geno who's 34 years old. You don't know how many more good years he's got. And you know what? I totally forgot that, yes, you're right. Tom Brady has worked with Shador Sanders. He likes Shador Sanders. And I guarantee you he would probably push for Shador Sanders for that franchise.
Yeah, he's
And
mentoring him. Raiders are number 6.
Okay, number 6. Exactly. So that's a quandary to think about because the Raiders could be a dark horse for Shador if they don't go Genty, but I think they are going to go Genty.
Yeah,
Because they need a running back.
So who do you think the Titans will pull? They're the number 1 on the clock. They're number 1.
So I think the Titans are going to go Cam Ward because now they have Mayo, aka Will Levis, on the team. I think they probably work a deal where Will Levis gets traded to maybe one of these teams that need a quarterback.
Oh wow.
And somebody that could develop Will Levis, because it makes no sense to draft Cam Ward and have Will Levis on your team.
Right, that's true.
Like because remember when whatchamacallit, Caleb got, everybody knew the Bears were taking Caleb, but they had to get rid of Fields. They got rid of Fields, right? They traded him to the Steelers
at the last minute. Nobody saw that. They literally
right.
Last year this time we were all holding our breaths the same way. It was crazy.
Right. Exactly. If Mayo is on this team before the draft, that tells me they might not take Cam Ward, or they're trading down to get assets to make the team better. But if Will Levis gets traded probably before the draft, then it's going to be Cam Ward.
Wow.
So I think it's Cam Ward, and if it's not Cam Ward, Abdul Carter.
So the Raiders go. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Nate.
No. I'm just saying Abdul Carter is probably their only other option. Because they could use a defensive stalwart. They haven't had a good defensive end since Javon Curse, and that's been a minute.
Oh my goodness, that has been a minute for real.
Yeah,
I forgot.
They got Jeffrey Simmons inside, but they need an edge rusher, and like I said, they haven't had one since Javon Curse.
That's funny you say that because the Panthers are predicted to take an edge as well. It's a lot of teams out there that are looking for some edge rushers. I mean,
we're one of them.
Brian Burns, and this is what happens. Pittsburgh put themselves in a situation that they have to get Aaron Rodgers because of how they've traded around. And then you got teams that have gotten rid of like their edge rushers, like the Panthers did by sending Brian Burns to New York. And so now we have to build around Bryce. But the more puzzling question, Nate, is the Cleveland Browns, who have promised Deshaun Watson, I believe, through 2027, guaranteed money. And he's injured all the time. And they have to move on for him. At this point, it's just going to be dead cap because nobody's going to pay them that money. They're not going to get anything.
So I ran a scenario on B Show about the Cleveland Browns. Now, we all know the Cleveland Browns are in purgatory hell. Like, they gave Deshaun Watson all that guaranteed money, the most ever, and he literally's done nothing for Cleveland. Like, all he's done is just keep getting in trouble and tearing his ACL and Achilles and all that. So he's done nothing for Cleveland. So the return investment has been nothing. They could actually wipe themselves clean of this, and I'll tell you how. So if Titans say to themselves, you know what, guys, I like Cam Ward, but we like Will Levis enough to keep him for another year. That would be his third year. And let's go ahead and draft Abdul Carter at 1. Okay. So we make ourselves a better team, adding him. And we hope that Levis can develop in year 3. You don't think Cleveland would turn that card in a heartbeat, taking Cam Ward at 2?
Yeah, they definitely would. That's a win.
Who the hell cares if they got Deshaun Watson? You got Cam Ward on a rookie deal. And you didn't even think he was going to be there at 2.
Yeah, that's a win.
And you get him at 2, and you got your franchise quarterback, and then you can either go get Kirk Cousins or whoever else to run the quarterback situation for the year. And then when you feel like Cam's ready, you put Cam in there, and you got your franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, possibly.
That's an interesting take because I forgot to bring up Kirk Cousins went to the Falcons a couple of weeks ago, went to Arthur Blank. Of course, he's now been officially benched after they've paid him all this money. And he's like, okay, I'm requesting a meeting with Arthur Blank. So he requests this meeting with Arthur Blank down here in Atlanta. He goes to him, he said, listen, you guys didn't draft me to be number 2. I want to be traded. I want to go elsewhere where I can be a starter. Arthur Blank is like, nope, you're just gonna sit.
Yeah, they don't have to do anything. They paid him. They paid him already. They don't have to do anything.
So Kirk takes it upon himself to go up to Ohio this past week. That he was putting pictures out on social media. He was at Chipotle. Everywhere he was, they were hashtagging Browns. Like he was at Chipotle. He was at another restaurant with the crew of people that worked there and everything. And so he's like marketing himself because he knows that the Browns have to have a quarterback. This is the year they have to have a quarterback. And that Kirk Cousins would make the absolute most sense. Robbie.
And not only that, but Stefanski coached him. The coach for the Browns coached him in Minnesota.
Yeah. In Minnesota, they had, that's the part I forgot to talk about. He was the offensive coordinator when Kirk Cousins played with the Vikings. Stefanski was the coordinator of the Vikings there. So they have a history. And, additionally, what's weird is the same scenario kind of played out with Pittsburgh because Arthur Smith, who was the former coach of the Falcons, was up there now as offensive coordinator. He never wanted to take Justin Fields when he was in Atlanta, but then he kind of ended up having him there anyway. So
it's crazy how things come full circle sometimes in the NFL,
Yes, and Robbie says if Carter ain't on the board, Cleveland will take Travis Hunter. So I don't know.
I disagree with that.
They don't have a quarterback.
Here's the thing. Cam Ward is considered amongst most people out there as the best quarterback in this draft. And Cleveland doesn't have a quarterback right now. Like, you could say Kenny Pickett is there, but he's not really somebody that you're gonna jump. The fan base is going to get excited behind him.
He's a bench. He's a warm uniform. Yeah. That's it.
Your best quarterback just tore his Achilles. Like, I'm sorry. So, I mean, you don't have a quarterback. So you're going to tell me that if Cleveland has a chance to get a franchise quarterback after the Titans decided to go a different route, they're going to miss on him? No, they're not.
Yeah,
They'll pick him up in a heartbeat. They'll turn that card in quicker than the Lions turned in for Aiden Hutchinson. You can book that. If Cleveland decides to go away from Cam Ward, I'm done defending them.
I mean,
because they need a quarterback, and here's one that falls right into your lap.
Yeah, but the Giants are number 3. They're right behind them. And even though the Giants, signed
the Giants would take him. I'll tell you that. They would take him.
They will take him. But they have been still amongst the talk for Shador. They're saying, and this is what gets me now. Giants, if you just got Russell, now you want Shador. You got to do something with DeVito. I guess you send him to the practice squad. Like,
they can move off DeVito. I mean, that's not a big deal. And Jameis Winston.
They're in a position. Okay, yeah, Jameis. I don't know why I said Russell Wilson.
Well, they got Russell Wilson too.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, they did. That's why I was like, wait a minute. I did this whole. You've got 2 former major names, like big league veterans in the league. You signed 2 veterans. You got one that's already been there, and then you're talking about getting a draft. But the thing is, Dayball and them have to win this season, and they are not going to win. I don't care if they sign one of the apostles. They are not winning this season. Okay,
No.
They can sign everybody they want. That is just a train wreck waiting to occur. They are akin to the same thing Dallas did by promoting their offensive coordinator as head coach. I call him shopping center, because I'm like, you clearly didn't shop around for a real coach. And so you're just repeating what's already happened.
Well, nobody wants that job. Let's be real. That's a dumpster fire happening right now.
Jerry's off the deep end. Yeah. Robbie says Browns have nothing to lose. This quarterback class is weak. Stefanski already said he's comfortable with Pickett starting. Yeah,
that's smoke. If you tell me that you're okay with Kenny Pickett being your starter, and you're gonna whiff on a quarterback like Cam Ward, dude, you're not gonna be a coach very long.
I'm just like, come on, work with me. Now the Lions are picking all the way at 28. I don't even know who. Are you guys gonna try to trade up to get anybody, or?
I mean, it's on the table. Here's the thing with the Lions, and I've kind of said this about the Lions. I think as Lions fans, there's 2 types of Lions fans, Sonia. There's the Lions fans that don't understand the history of this fan base and how bad it's been. And then there's the other side that understands the heartache that this fan base has been. And we clash a lot, because I know I've clashed a lot with these kind of fans.
Yeah, you always tell me before I come on your show.
These younger fans, they probably see the more success than we saw as the older Lion fans, So I say that because these younger fans are impatient. They want the farm. They want Brad to sell the farm, our GM. They want instant gratification. They want a Super Bowl right here, right now. And the problem is that we've had 2 shots to try to get to the Super Bowl. It hasn't happened. Okay. Do I still think we have shots? Yes, we do. Is it going to probably happen this year? Probably not. I thought last year was our best shot, and I'll go on record and saying that. Last year, everything went right for us except for the injuries. Last year was our best shot to get to the Super Bowl, and it didn't happen.
I feel bad every time I hear you say that, because I'm like,
it's the truth. Yeah. But we dug deep, but we'll dig deep, and they still have shots. So what I say is that when you look at the Lions' last 2 years of drafting, this team is pretty damn complete. Okay. We don't have a lot of needs. So when you don't have a lot of needs on your team, okay, and you have all your starters pretty much locked in their positions, you don't need to draft starters over starters. You know what I'm saying?
That makes no sense.
Yeah, because you got the guys that you believe in and that you are going to rock with those dudes. And they've shown that. They've extended the players they believe in. So that being said, the Lions are no longer in a talent acquisition phase. They don't need to acquire talent to be better necessarily. They need to acquire depth. They need to require guys that could possibly be a starter, but they don't have to be starters. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And so you look at the teams that do this very well. Philadelphia, they draft and develop a lot of their players. Brad Holmes does the same thing. He drafts and develops a lot of his players. That's what the Lions are doing. We're drafting and developing our players to be starters, maybe, or not. Maybe just to be a good role player, maybe to be a good backup, because you need that in the NFL. You need backups. You need guys that can step up into other roles. And so that being said, for the Lions really just need to draft depth. Like, they only have two needs, really, in my mind. They could use a guard, but you can get a guard in the 3rd or 4th round, so that's no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And they need an end. You can get the end in the 1st round. But outside of that, you're going to probably draft a lot of players that they're not going to see a lot of playing time. And it's going to piss off the Lion fan base, the younger fan base, because they're going to be like, oh, it's a wasted draft pick. What is Brad doing? You got to understand how teams are created. Mm-hmm. Like, if Philadelphia is the poster child of how to develop a roster, the Lions are following suit just like the Philadelphia Eagles are. Because if you look at the Philadelphia Eagles roster, it's all homegrown talent. And they have their backups that are now going to step into starting roles because they got rid of a lot of the players that they couldn't afford.
Mm-hmm.
That's the same thing the Lions are going to have happen with the Lions. Once the Lions start extending a lot of these players like Aiden, Kirby, Brian Branch, Laporta, J-Mo, Gibbs, I keep going. They got a lot of players that they're going to have to pay money to.
All at the same time.
Well, not all at the same time, but
seems
in
like
the next
they
3 to 4 years. Yeah, 3 to 4 years. But the thing is that you're going to have to draft and develop those backups in case you don't sign everybody and you have to let some of those go. Like Philadelphia did. Philadelphia let a lot of their defense go because they either couldn't afford them or they got older and they have their backups that didn't really get a lot of playing time that now can take a bigger role. You know what I'm saying?
Well, once a team goes to the Super Bowl anyway, everybody wants to be paid more. So you expect that, especially once they win. It's like, okay, even with the coordinators, sometimes your coordinators want to go because this is their best shot to get a head coaching job now that they're on the main stage. What I didn't understand, and we don't really talk about Denver too much, but looks like today Denver signed Sam Ehlinger, who was originally drafted in 21 by the Colts.
He was a Colts. He was a Colts. Yeah, he's a
0-3 starter, but had 573 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. So half and half. But Denver, they really lucked up with Bo Nix last year. Mm-hmm. Bo Nix came out explosive. I had him on my fantasy, and he was getting me like 60 points a couple times, and I wasn't even that sold on him. I mean, does Denver? I mean, I don't know. For some reason, I thought that the deadline had passed for signing players. I don't ever know the.
No, free agency is still going. It's just the later waves. Like all the big name and signings are pretty much all done. This is now the smaller waves, and probably you won't see a bunch of signings probably till after the draft because they want to see what the teams are going to fill in the draft, and then after the draft, what the needs they still have, and then you'll see a lot of these other players probably sign contracts after the draft because they know that there could be more demand for them going forward.
Well, they said Brandon Ayuk's contract is fully guaranteed through 2026 as of today also. So
wow, that's crazy.
Lot of moving around, moving parts, and it's kind of like this happened, I guess, this afternoon. It was on NFL.com. And so you'll just be like you said, I always thought, okay, the deadline is the deadline, but like you're saying, there's always moves, in the league across the board.
It's kind of weird how it goes. Like you would think draft would be before free agency because you could fill a lot of needs in the draft and then you fill the rest of the needs in free agency. But people like to go free agency first and draft first, or draft second. It really doesn't matter. But yeah, it's still going to be going on. I think you'll probably see more signings after the draft.
Yeah, and speaking of Denver, we're going to pivot our last few minutes to the NBA. Shout out to Nikola Jokic, 61 points, triple-double in a double overtime. Unfortunately lost by 1 point to the Wolves.
That was a tough loss.
It's not his first time putting up these big numbers, but he's now the top scoring player of the season. No one's put up 61 points this entire season. The West is literally looking like the best, Nate. I mean, you got
It
Denver
is
out
the
there.
best. Yeah.
I mean, all these trades. And this is not even including the Warriors who acquired Jimmy Butler out there with Steph Curry and of course Draymond Green. This is, Denver and OKC. What are your thoughts on all of that? Is the West really the best, or do you still think?
No, the West is the best. I mean, the East has the Celtics and Cleveland.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the only two teams that I absolutely trust. That if you put them in the West, they probably would be like in the top 4.
The 76ers were good, but Embiid keeps going down with injuries.
Yeah, they've had a lot. They've had a lot of injuries.
A lot.
A lot. So, but as far as the West, the gauntlet. I mean, you look at some of the matchups right now. The Lakers and Warriors possibly in the first round. Oklahoma City, and if the Suns can get in, the Oklahoma City and the Suns. KD playing against his old team.
Yeah, that's gonna
the Rockets and I guess who else is I don't know all the rankings. Dallas. So I mean in Denver, I mean it's gonna be tough. It's really gonna be tough. I would say that Oklahoma City is probably the favorite to come out of the West, but the Lakers and Denver are gonna make it tough. And the way it's looking right now, if the Lakers stay where they are, the Warriors stay where they are, you're looking at LeBron versus Steph in the first round. That's going to be fun.
Yeah, that's going to be fun. I mean,
and Luka too. I'm sorry, Luka and LeBron versus Steph and Jimmy.
They're trying to reinvigorate the Lakers to being, it almost reminds me of the Shaq Kobe days a little bit, or even further back, Magic Johnson, it's like they're trying to reinvigorate these Lakers, and they've actually put out there that LeBron is the type of player that could have played in any of these eras and been successful. And we know because he's been out 20 plus years. So he's been.
Yeah, I mean, the physicality, LeBron probably could have played back in the day, but you got to think about the players back in the day. They didn't have hand check fouls. Yep. You could foul them hard and it would just be a play on. I don't know if LeBron could stand that because LeBron, he flinches at the smallest things of contact. Exactly.
He
sails. Yeah. Them. Yeah. Like if Bill Laimbeer, went at you and bumped you off your feet, that would be a play on. LeBron would be crying on the floor.
Yes.
So
the Bad Boys would have.
I disagree. Yeah.
I was a huge Detroit Bad Boys fan, huge fan for a while. When you guys had the Fab Five and all that, I literally loved them. So you're right. Bill Laimbeer would have got him ate up with that elbow.
Yeah, it was a very physical era of basketball. Now you can argue that the NBA is more soft.
Yeah, and it feels like every sport is because they're so aware of injuries. But like I like to say, I don't mean to sound insensitive, but it's like you assume the risk just like you do with any other job. Like I gave the illustration on the show earlier, the National Network mid show. If you are a window cleaner for a skyscraper, then you are, when you get on that job, you've already basically assumed the risk that if I fall,
you could fall off and die.
Then this is just a risk of the job, and I don't want to, but that's literally the thing. When you're signing up as an NFL player, as an NBA player, you are being paid millions of dollars to have the best health care, to try to offset some of these bangings that your body's going to take on, some of these injuries, and even just the wear and tear. Like even if you never get injured and you are somehow able to skate through all of your career, your joints and everything, you're going to age twice as fast as everybody else, no matter how physically active you are. Running on the hard concrete all the time, the overreaching for balls, all of that. So it's up to you to put things in place, your money or what have you, so that you continue the best care that you need to have longevity for your life.
And I think you brought up a great point too. It's also knowing the assignment and knowing what the job's about. And a perfect example is look at Jordan. Jordan played in those eras, and there was things called the Jordan rules.
Yep.
You know, the Pistons pretty much created the Jordan rules because they would rough him up.
Yep.
They would knock him on his butt. They would hand check him. They would
And his
elbow
nose
him.
bleeding. Yeah.
They would do whatever they can to stop that man. Even though they couldn't stop him, they tried their hardest.
Yep.
I don't know if LeBron could have took that beating because LeBron is not he's more of a finesse player.
Mm-hmm.
He's not as physical as somebody like Jordan was. Jordan would get up in you. LeBron's not that type of player. LeBron will get to a point and then walk away. Jordan would get up in your grill. Like if you watch the first dance or the last dance.
I did.
I mean, it was hilarious when people would talk mess about him and he'd watch it on his little tablet and he'd just laugh. He's like, yeah, and I dropped 55 on his ass.
Yes. And
like, he didn't care. He didn't care.
Yeah, SNL did a good skit where they had him playing betting on quarters and stuff, like heads and all that. They had like a little skit based.
Oh, I didn't see that. I'll check that out.
It is hilarious. I gotta find it and I'll send it to you. By the way, real quick score check. Braves are up over the Dodgers 5-3. It's the end of the fourth. Hopefully the Braves can turn it around. Dodgers, of course, are 7-0. Braves are 0-6.
Something's got to give.
They are at the end of the fourth inning. They're getting ready to start the top of the fifth. So hopefully they can get it done right now. Just hanging on in there. Just had to give Braves fans that little score check.
We didn't talk about your Dukes as much, so let's talk real quick about your Dukes.
We're gonna talk about them right now. So Dennis Rodman would make LeBron retire early. Yeah, he would. So Duke is in the Final Four. They are, in my projection, going to win it all. Nate, because I'm already biased, I want to know, because did you do a bracket, Nate?
I didn't do a bracket, but I had Duke and Florida in my final. I'm actually changing. I had Florida winning it all, but after watching Duke play, Duke is going to win this championship. I'd be shocked if it doesn't happen. They are so talented, Sonia. They have probably 4 first-round draft picks in this NBA. Now, I do have a question for you because I brought this point up in B show.
I bet I know what it is, but I'm listening.
Yeah. Okay. So if Cooper Flag stays in Duke.
I knew it. I knew that was the question.
Everybody else stays at Duke, and you guys are getting Carlos Boozer's son next year, the Gatorade Player of the Year. Can y'all not win 2 or 3 championships in a row? Is this a better team than the Florida team was?
Yeah, definitely. And it could be a dynasty, actually, to run it back to back to back. But this is the thing with hypotheses. Cooper is not going to stay another year because he's already had that close call with this ankle injury. They thought he rolled his ankle, or they actually thought it was broken. And what he doesn't want to do is, now he's being considered the number 1 draft prospect. You don't want to stay, even though he did just get this $40 million NIL deal. You don't want to stay. If the NBA can play him more, I'll say that. If the NBA can beat this NIL deal, you don't want to stay in college and perhaps, like you just said, this kid is coming in, Gatorade Player of the Year. He may be better than Cooper, and now your draft stock has dropped because the person you brought in.
Okay, real quick. What if he doesn't come? What if they don't win it all? Does he come back, or does he go still to the NBA?
He's gone. If they don't win it, he's definitely gone. Yeah, he's gone either way.
What about the other guys? Knipple.
They're gonna probably.
Proctor's gone.
I feel like the only person that would probably leave is Cooper. I feel like if they get so close to it, especially if it's a close game, I feel like they will stay and Cooper will leave.
You think Malek's gonna stay, the 7'2" center? Shoot, man, he's got a lot of potential. NBA likes those kind of big guys.
I mean, he made, and maybe I could say half and half on him, but you know, it's one of those things we got to keep an eye on. Of course, that game is going to be coming up on Saturday. We'll be talking about that on Friday night with the fellas. Nate, if you're free, you're more than welcome to join us to continue that talk. We've got to wrap it up here. Nate, always a pleasure having you on tonight. Thank you, everybody.
Yeah, enjoyed it. Thank you.
Yes, always. And this will re-air at 2 a.m. And I see you, Melvin. You're late, but we see you. And we catch us on the replay, brother. You guys take care and good night.
This is a presentation of National Streaming Sports. Over 20 podcasters, 70 weekly shows, and a 3.4-star rating on Roku TV.